Hey guys, Phibes here. Welcome to my October 18th DVD update. I talk about all the DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like I always say, guys, if you enjoy these updates, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below. Would love to hear what you guys thought about the titles I've checked out in this update. Any future titles coming up you'd like me to check out, and some of the movies that you guys have checked out recently as well. Let me tell you though, there's a lot of cool stuff in this update. Also, I think it's one of the biggest ones I've done in a really long time. There's some, like I said too, there's some things in this update that I have been so excited about and almost pretty much have been dreaming would come to Blu-ray. And pretty much the first one is one of those ones. And it's coming out, from Shout Factory, and it's the complete series of Pee-wee's Playhouse. And this is a show that I remember, as a kid. I actually can remember quite, this is like some of my earliest memories were watching Pee-wee's Playhouse. I remember, my mom was always taping this, and I remember even for my birthday, I think it was like my 4th or 5th birthday, I remember a guy who was a Pee-wee impersonator. I was convinced at the time that it was really him. He came and then gave me a magic screen toy to my birthday, and I always remembered that. This is the complete series of Pee-wee's Playhouse and Blu-ray. Now, there's a lot of people probably are wondering, what is Pee-wee going to look like in Blu-ray? Is it just going to pretty much be, up-converted, or is it just going to be, pretty much just a show on Blu-ray? Here's the thing with this. This is totally 100% restored. Pee-wee was shot on film. So to see this show in Blu-ray is pretty much like seeing it for the first time again. And you've never seen it like this. I mean, I pretty much nearly started to cry. I'm totally serious. Seeing this in this kind of quality, I couldn't even get over it. I mean, it is totally looks like it was shot in the last maybe 10 years. If the detail in it, and it's so funny too, you can actually see things on the wall so much better than you ever could with the detail of this in Blu-ray. You actually see the strings too, quite a bit, with the things flying around in the house and everything. But if you don't know the show, it's basically Pee-wee who lives in his playhouse, and his friends come over and they have kind of adventures and weird things happen, and they kind of learn lessons, like Pee-wee makes salads and all kinds of different things, and those weird drinks when he would put the raisins in them with the Sprite. And my favorite one though was when an alien takes Pee-wee up to space against his own will, and that was one of my personal favorite ones. And also the giant eye monster was always one of my favorite ones as well, when Pee-wee was making that salad. But like I said, this show looks absolutely amazing on Blu-ray. I think they had to do some restoring, especially with the green screen, to totally bring it back, but everything is totally amazing looking. Like I said, I couldn't get over how good this looks. Like I said, when this aired, it didn't look like this. This is, it wasn't HD then, and I don't think they ever thought that anyone would see this in this detail. It also has whole tons of interviews on here, making of the show, the set, interviews with the cast, interviews with the puppeteers. I mean, if you're a fan of the show, this is definitely an absolute must purchase. And also, people wondering too, it does include the Pee-wee's Christmas special. I can't recommend this set enough. I mean, this, to me, like I said, is something that I had always hoped we would see on Blu-ray, but I never actually expected to see it in this kind of quality. I actually didn't even know that they shot the show on film. I kind of thought that it was shot, just on, kind of VHS quality. You wouldn't have thought that it was shot in film, looking at it back then. You never would have thought that there was a quality of that existed. The next one from Shout Factory, Scream Factory line, is another one that people have been talking about for years, about, the director's cut of this, and hoping that it came out, and also people hope for the sequel of this as well, which, who knows, maybe we could see it happen, especially with this new director's cut. I think it really sets up a sequel even more in a way, because of the different ending in this. I'd like to see a sequel to it, especially if they, because they really could pick it up. I think it really could work, but it's the Clive Barker film Nightbreed, and there's 2 different editions of this. This is the one that includes the director's cut. There's also a limited edition one that includes the theatrical cut as well. This is basically about this guy who's having these weird dreams and visions of these kind of monsters and these creatures, and he kind of really wants to get to this area where these creatures are. And he doesn't know how to get there, but he really needs to find this place. And then, he ends up, something ends up happening, and he ends up in the hospital, ends up finding out where this place is, what the creatures are. And he ends up wandering and finding this place, but he pretty much ends up getting killed before it happens. And so but his body ends up disappearing from the hospital, and the police are after him, and David Cronenberg in this plays his therapist, and David Cronenberg is so cool in this. Like, he hasn't done a million movies, and acting is more of a director, but I really like him as an actor. Like, I think that he really did a cool job in this. Danny Elfman did the music in this, and this was totally at the time when he was doing the really, really amazing scores for Tim Burton, and it was kind of in the vibe of, the Batman and Batman Begins, and that kind of real brassy with all the sounds and the sounds of the women making those and all that. Like, he doesn't. His music is not like that at all anymore. It doesn't sound as much like him. And back then, during this era, was some of his most amazing scores, and some of the ones that really were haunting. And this music, the score of this, really feels like a Tim Burton, almost like he was. I guess he really seemed like he was in the mindset of Batman, and when he was doing this, it really had that vibe. But there's some really cool creatures and some really cool effects in this. It's just a very strange movie about him with these creatures, and then his girlfriend is trying to find him, and it's very, very hard to explain the movie and do it justice. But I really, really like this. It's just a really trippy, weird visual film. And like I said, I really hope to see, it would be cool, since you're seeing movies after all these years, like, Dumb and Dumber, coming back and things like that. It would be cool if they actually did pick this up. I could even see, Scream Factory doing it. But definitely check this out. Like I said, if you're a fan of this movie, really, really cool film. It has a bunch of features on here. Like I said, the new director's cut, which is 40 minutes of restored footage. And then commentaries on here, and then making-ofs and interviews and all that kind of stuff on it. The next one from Shout Factory as well, through the Scream Factory line, is the second Vincent Price collection, and this one has The Raven on here, Comedy of Terrors, The Tomb of Ligeia, I think that's how you say that, Last Man on Earth, Dr. Phibes Rises Again, The Return of the Fly, and House on Haunted Hill. My two favorites on here are House on Haunted Hill and The Last Man on Earth, which is one of my favorite Vincent Price films. They've made, they've Mega Man, and then they've made, on the same story about The Last Man on Earth. And then I Am Legend. I think they're remaking I Am Legend again, from what I've heard. But one of my favorites, though, pretty much I would say, is the Vincent Price version. But it has a whole bunch of features on here. But, Last Man on Earth, like I said, that was him when he's like the last guy on Earth. And he starts discovering weird people, and these weird people sort of lurking around. And I love that one. I mean, it's a real sort of sillier take on the whole thing. But I like that. And, House on Haunted Hill, which is, the original one with him inviting the people to the house. And then he's like, things are happening to them. And then, I always forget that they made that follow-up to The Fly. But, it got a bunch of introductions on here that were classic introductions by Vincent Price, and audio commentaries and trailers. It also has a new booklet in here, with pictures from the movies and, some write-ups about Vincent Price and the movies and things like that. Really cool set, especially if you're a fan of Vincent Price and his movies. I love that they put these things together like this. And then a little look inside, though, if people are interested in what it looks like. But, like I said, if you're a fan of the Vincent Price films, definitely check this out. And they do a great job cleaning these ones up. The next one from Universal is the Steven Spielberg collection. And I was really excited about this one for one movie in particular, which is an exclusive. But there's actually the other exclusive films on here, the Sugarland Express, 1941, and Always, which, none of these have been on Blu-ray before, those ones. But the one that I'm really excited about is Duel. And I think that was his second director film. I think that was he did it for TV, but this is the cut that was, for, I think, international release. So it's a little bit more to it than the theatrical one, the TV cut. I think it's little bit longer. But Duel was the one where the guy was driving out in the desert trying to get to a meeting, and he ended up upsetting this truck driver who's sort of chasing him down and following him and basically harassing him, trying to run him off the road. I always feel like that movie Maximum Overdrive kind of was like the same kind of idea or something. I don't know. And they made that other one, I think, Trucks. They were kind of like the same kind of vibe of Duel. But it also has on here Jurassic Park and The Lost World and Jaws. Just a very cool set of some of the top, films that Steven Spielberg has done for Universal. I get you guys a little look inside of it. I really like the design in this set because it has the posters, for the movies, and then some information about it, and then the features that are on here. And this has a conversation with Steven Spielberg, and and then I think it's just a cool layout to this, and it tells you what's in it and what the features are on it. I don't remember if Duel, the original one, had any features on that or not. And then Always is on here, Jurassic Park, The Lost World. Just a very cool set. Also a booklet in here too, with pictures from the movies and information about them and things like that. But if you're a fan of Steven Spielberg, these are definitely one to check out. Like I said too, a lot of people I know who are watching my stuff are probably going to want it too for the Duel set. For the movie Duel, which is a really pretty cool. I feel like one that people are talking about as much anymore. It kind of is like one of those ones that kind of went under the radar a little bit. The next one from Paramount, and this is one of those ones that another one that I was really glad is on Blu-ray, and I was really worried when they were talking about putting it out that they were not going to have the R-rated cut. Because I really liked the R-rated version of this. They had a lot of really funny sight gags, which were a little too adult, for the PG-13 one. And it's Kingpin, which to me is one of those Farrelly Brothers movies that I watch the most. And I never really was into bowling or anything like that, but something about this movie I've always really, really loved, and it's basically Woody Harrelson, who is I love the look on this set too. Woody Harrelson, who was this bowler who was really kind of up and coming and really looked like he was going to have this great career, and he was doing some gambling at night, and he ended up getting sort of screwed over and getting his hand put into the bowling ball machine, and his hand got cut off, and he ended up not being able to bowl. And it was years later, and he was living in this crappy motel, kind of apartment place. And then one day, he was at the bowling alley, and he always kind of goes there and just scopes out talent because he's really broke and nothing's going on for him anymore. And he sees one day Randy Quaid there, who's this Amish guy, bowling, and he's absolutely amazing, doing an amazing job. And he tries to convince Randy Quaid's character to let him basically represent him and try and make some money with him. And it's kind of about them going on the journey to raising money and things like that to get to Vegas. Vanessa Angel comes along with it as well, and she's one of the she was with one of the people they were playing with, and she ended up, being kind of abused by the guy. So they all kind of run off together on this quest. And Randy Quaid his character is Amish and is really, kind of been sheltered and never really gotten out and seen things before. It's just such a fun, silly movie. Like I said, this is one of those ones that I've watched so many times. I would definitely recommend too, if you haven't seen this, to check out the R-rated cut of this, because there was so many different funny stuff, especially stuff with Randy Quaid's character at the strip club. Another note too, hopefully one day everything gets worked out with Randy Quaid. I loved him as an actor, and it's not the same, the fact that we don't get to see any more Randy Quaid movies. And I know he's had tax problems or whatever it is. I almost wish it was just forget, don't worry about it. Just let him come back. You know what I mean? I don't know. I miss his movie. The next one from Called Epics, and this is one that I remember. This one kid in high school was always wearing the shirt for this movie. I always thought it was funny. No one ever acknowledged it or said anything about it. But I had always was looking at the shirt and wondering what this movie was. And it's Nekromantik. And let me tell you, it's got some really, really cool, weird synth in it, and then this weird instrumental kind of thing. And it's pretty much about this guy who works as a kind of a guy cleaning up dead bodies with this group of these people, and he's obsessed with dead bodies, and he ends up bringing a dead body home with him and his girlfriend. And it's pretty much about them sleeping with the dead body and these weird things going on with it, and their obsession with it. It's very, very gross and very, very, very strange, but It's actually pretty well made. It's shot on Super 8, so you kind of know what it's going to look like if it's shot on Super 8. I mean, but I think that Cold Epics did a really pretty good job cleaning it up for some, what they had to work with. Because 8mm, there's not a whole ton of definition there to work with, and it looks like it. You kind of feel like it was shot like in the 70s, but it was actually shot. It came out in 1987. They made a sequel to this as well, which I feel like I saw the sequel, but like I said, never seen the first one. But it's pretty much about, just them doing this, and the girlfriend ends up leaving, and then it's like kind of him obsessed with, the dead body and finding another dead body, and all these weird things and really weird, trippy visual things and things like that. But it has on here Q&A, audio commentaries, the making of featurette, a brand new short on here. From 1985. It was never released before. Hot Love. But just, really, really, really weird. But I would recommend checking out if you want to see something very strange. It's one that's always on the list, too, of the most, twisted, weird movies. Things like Martyrs and things like that. This is always one that's on that list. The next one is one, too, that I have been really looking forward to seeing. It's the Soska twins. Jen and Sylvia Soska directed this one. They did American Mary, which is one that I really liked a lot. And this is the follow-up to See No Evil. Which I really liked the first See No Evil a lot, and was actually interested in seeing what they were going to do with this. And I was really kind of, happy that they got Katharine Isabelle and Danielle Harris to be in this one. And it's pretty much about, picks up right after the first one, and it's about some, Danielle Harris is working at a kind of like it's the coroner's office, and they have all the dead bodies coming in, and then the dead body of Cain, comes back, the killer in the first one, and when they're there, they're all kind of like she's pretty much having a bunch of her friends over there that night. They're all kind of drinking and partying, and of course Cain ends up coming back to life, and it's pretty much about him going and killing them all off in this place. I thought it was actually pretty good. I thought, I was really happy for them too. They have another film they're doing for the WWE, and then, the ABCs of Death, they have a segment in that as well. I really like their stuff. I kind of was hoping they'd actually act in it as well. I like them acting in the movies as well. They have a little cameo in the movie. I'm not going to, ruin how they did it. But it actually worked pretty well. It was just a little quick thing they did. Like I said, though, I pretty much watch everything with Danielle Harris and Katharine Isabelle, who are both now, I would say, or especially Katharine Isabelle is starting to get more into the Scream Queen kind of route. I thought, though, there was just some things about, with some of the writing and things like that, which were not absolutely perfect and things like that, and some of the acting in it was just a little up in the air, but I think that really had a lot to do with some of the script, which they had nothing to do with. So, that's kind of like you work with what you have for it. But I thought for what it was with them in the medical place, I thought it worked pretty good, and it does have a kind of a throwback kind of 80s vibe to it. I liked it. I think people who like the first one are going to like this. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what the Soska Twist sisters do next. And it has on here though, a featurette on the sisters, and then two featurettes on the film. But definitely check this out. I thought this was just a fun slash film, especially if you like Katharine Isabelle and Danielle Harris. The next one is one of my favorite ones in this update. Really a big fan of Audrey Plaza. Really liked her in the To-Do List. And I almost think I like this just about the same, maybe even a little bit better. This is one of those ones that I was thinking about a whole lot after it was done. And it's, Audrey Plaza and Diane Dayham, who was in Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Chronicle and a whole bunch of different movies. And it's Life After Beth. And it's pretty much about, in the beginning of the movie, Audrey Plaza's character goes for a run, and then the next day, you find out that she died, and she was, something terrible happened to her out on this run, and, he's pretty much a wreck after she dies. He goes to the funeral, and, he starts having a friendship with John C. Reilly, who's Audrey Plaza's mother, and he's kind of going over there and, smoking weed with him, and they're just talking about things and trying to calm down and figure out how they're going to get on with their lives. And then all of a sudden, he's calling up John C. Reilly's character, and he's not picking up the phone. He goes over there. He won't let him in. He doesn't know what's going on. Then he's peeking in the windows, and then ends up seeing Aubrey Plaza's character, who who's dead, walking around in there. And then John C. Reilly and Molly Shannon, who's his wife in it, won't let him in. Then he's trying to get him to go away, and he eventually ends up getting into the house, finding that she's alive, and doesn't. He kind of thinks that they pulled some kind of elaborate prank on him. Really pissed about the whole thing, and it turns out she is dead, but she's back, and it's kind of about them figuring out what happened. But at the same time, John C. Reilly's like, you can't take her out of the house, you can't leave. I don't want you telling her that she's dead. I don't want her knowing this. It's going to upset her. And it's pretty much about them kind of. It's more very metaphoric too about people who want to, someone who passed away in their lives, wishing that they could have said something to them, wishing they could have done certain things. And when people come back, Aubrey Plaza though did a really great job in this. Coming back and in this playing this character, and she's also throughout the movie kind of falling apart and getting worse and worse. The decay and there's also is this going to happen more around them? That's what kind of the thing to watch the movie and see. But really fun movie, definitely worth checking out on here. It has a commentary on here, and then deleted scenes and a making of. The next one from Lionsgate as well is Life of Crime. And this is technically a prequel. It doesn't really like advertise it as that, but it's like from the same writer of, I think it was Jackie Brown, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I ever saw Jackie Brown, but I know when I was reading about this, they were saying that it's pretty much about Jennifer Aniston's character who ends up getting kidnapped by these two guys, and they want to hold a ransom to her husband, played by Tim Robbins. And when Tim Robbins finds out that she's been kidnapped, he doesn't really seem that interested in it. Jennifer Aniston was seeing somebody else inside. He's like with his other girlfriend on this trip, and he doesn't really seem too interested or seem to really even care to get her back. He kind of sees it as almost like a blessing that she was kidnapped. So it's kind of about the kidnappers and then with her and then the kind of weird things that go on in it. And it's kind of a quirky, weird kind of movie. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was an interesting thing. I didn't get totally into this. I was kind of surprised it never didn't go to theaters though. But like I said, it's from the same writer of the Jackie Brown story. I believe. Hopefully, I'm not messing that up. But I thought that, like I said, it was definitely an interesting one. I think some people would really like it though. The next one from Anchor Bay is Free Fall. And it's basically Sarah Butler, who is in the Spit on Your Grave remake, and then a couple of other different movies recently. There was one too that she was in with the one who was in Kangaroo Jack, which I actually kind of like that movie. And this one is Sarah Butler and D.B. Sweeney and Malcolm McDowell, and she works in this office building. And the one guy she works with kind of reminds me of like Mr. Wonderful, like almost like from Shark Tank, like what he does when he's like actually at the office. He was kind of look like him a little bit, and it's pretty much she ends up one of her coworkers ends up dying the day before he jumped out of the window, and his wife calls him to look through his desk to bring certain things back, and she ended up discovering that there's some kind of money schemes going on and that somebody's stealing money. She tells the one guy who looks like Mr. Wonderful about it, and he's like, oh, well, we're gonna have to figure this out, and we'll have to get here at night. And of course he's in on the whole thing and calls this guy who's basically coming there to kill her. And it's her escaping into the elevator and then them turning off the elevator and all the power, and she gets like stuck in there. It's kind of her trying to figure out how she's going to get out, and they're pretty much trying to figure out how to get in, and they're kind of like, the guy doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's trying to figure out who he can call and what he can do to get into this place. And I thought it was actually pretty interesting. I thought it picked up more later on. But at the same time, too, there's not a whole ton to the whole thing. It wasn't like as suspenseful as I was hoping. Like I really liked near the end when things really started picking up and they had this other character in it. But I thought that, like I said though, I was interested. I thought it was pretty good. I wish Malcolm McDowell was in a little bit more, but like he's in so many different movies when he's only in it for a couple of minutes. The next one from Anchor Bay as well, and this is one of my favorite movies of the year. Like I really like this one, and this is the long cut too. Like I was worried, if there was only going to be like the shorter one, but this is the long original cut of the film, and it's Snowpiercer, with Chris Evans and Jamie Bell, Octavia Spencer, Ed Harris, and this is just such a cool, well-made movie. And really original, and that's what I liked, was that it was actually, Tilda Swinton's in this as well as this really weird character, which I love, and be a shoe. And so this is one of those movies, like, I can't recommend enough that people watch this, but this is pretty much about, and I love that it opens up like this. I haven't seen one like that in a long time, and it's pretty much about this one train which like is really super advanced, and pretty much the world froze over, and everybody outside is dead. They believe everybody's dead. They haven't really seen anything. They don't see anything outside. It's all just pretty much a snowy tundra, and everyone is pretty much living on this train. They have like the classes of the train, like the lower class, which is kind of like just terrible, and like it's terrible conditions, and they have like the middle and the upper class, and it's pretty much about the people in the lower class trying to take over the train, get to the front, and what they have to go through. It's this gigantic train, all these different rooms. They have like fish tanks in this, whole kind of like gardens and all these kind of things. And it's just such a cool, well-made movie about these people kind of banding together to get to the front and what they're going through along the way. I like this one so much. This is, like I said, this is one I cannot recommend enough. Has a whole bunch of featurettes on here and critics commentary. Just one, like I said, everyone really needs to check this out. Just such a cool, different film. The next one from Anchor Bay as well is Begin Again, the Keira Knightley, Mark Ruffalo film. And it's Mark Ruffalo is this music producer, and he pretty much ends up getting fired from his job because he's kind of a mess and kind of like drinking and not really bringing any new clients, and just things are just not going so great with him. So he ends up getting fired, and he comes up with this, that he really wants to start his own label, and that's sort of like his goal. And he ends up seeing Keira Knightley the day that he's pretty much like really depressed. He's at the bar he sees her performing, and really thinks that she has a lot, believes she has all this talent, and really wants to produce her, but the label that he was fired from doesn't really want to deal with it, and they don't want to do it. So he ends up taking on this task of, he has this idea of recording her throughout the city, all over the place, and kind of like the album recorded in the city. And it's pretty much about them trying to put this album together, and it's about them kind of working out their problems. They both have their own sets of problems. I really like this, though. I like these kind of movies. I thought that this worked pretty well, and I thought this was just an interesting, nice movie about them, putting this together and trying to work out all their problems in their life. And it has on here a making of and music video with Adam Levine, because he was in this movie playing kind of a character sort of like himself. The next one is another one that I really liked, and it stars Lin Shaye in it. Lin Shaye is always amazing and everything, and Lin Shaye plays a great, crazy religious grandmother in this. And this was shot in a really, really cool first-person perspective. It's Grace the Possession. It's filmed sort of like the Maniac remake. And I really, really wish this had a making of on here, just to see the techniques. I think they were doing a lot of doubles, like two-way mirrors and things like that. Somebody behind it. It was definitely a very tricky task to shoot this, because it was all from the perspective of the girl. This one girl who ends up going to college. She was a very religious girl, who was living with her crazy grandmother, Lin Shaye's character, and she ends up going away to college in the city. When she goes to college, second she gets there, she's like realizing that this is really weird for her, and people are there drinking and having sex and all this kind of stuff, and she's the whole thing is very awkward to her, and she's there, she starts kind of seeing things and hearing weird things and seeing visions of pushing the one girl off the thing, and she ends up fainting one day when she's at school. She's only been there a couple days, ends up waking up, and she goes back home with her crazy grandmother, and the grandmother has pulled her out of school, and she's back at home, and she's like, you need God, and God is going to help you. And her mother already died in the past and had some real problems as well. She died when she was giving birth to her. It's pretty much her back at the house with the grandmother, and all these crazy stuff going on with her, and some really creepy visuals. Like I said, though, it's all filmed first-person perspective, so it's like it's really a cool technique. And the only time you really see her is in the mirrors and things like that. Like I said, it was a lot like how the Maniac remake went, but and this one's from Sony. But I would really check this out. This is one of the ones too, like in this update, that I really liked. And the next one from Vinegar Syndrome is Raw Force. This is another one. I had such a fun time with this movie. I don't think I had ever seen this. I can't think. I felt like I might have, but I don't know. It's just such a ridiculous, fun movie. It's about these people going on like a cruise. It's like a kung fu cruise, but it's not really like a regular cruise ship. It's like kind of a small cruise ship, and you're gonna be like, how are there so many people on this cruise ship? It's not that big. And also these characters disappear in it. I think they shot some of it like in LA or something, and they weren't all there, so you're like, where did these people go? Like in the party, there was like all these people and they weren't there, but they're going on this kung fu cruise, and they basically end up, having an accident, end up on this island with these cannibal monks that pretty much there's like this whole thing of bringing girls over to this place that, for the cannibal monks to eat, and like they're cannibals eating these girls. And it's such a weird movie. The one guy in it that's like bringing all the girls kind of looks like kind of a weird like Hitler kind of character, and he's got like these weird like guys with him, and the one guy has this really like cheesy glue-on kind of ponytail kind of thing. This is one of those like I love these sort of silly movies, and this really was a really really silly movie. It's also I love how at the end of this they say like to be continued. This never was continued. It's kind of like the classic, in Mac and Me, We'll Be Back. It never came back. But Vinegar Syndrome does amazing jobs cleaning these things up. It's in 2K. Looks really, really good on here. It has, interview with Jim Wynorski, who was one of the editors on this. A featurette talking about how they made this, and they shot this, in the Philippines. But this is like, if you love like really fun, silly kind of kung fu stuff, where the kung fu is all kind of poorly done, and and that's like the fun of it. Like I said, I love these kind of movies that are kind of like just so silly like that, and that's what this was. It's from Vinegar Syndrome. Like I said, it also has a DVD on here, but really, really fun. Like I said, Vinegar Syndrome really, impresses me so much with their transfers. The next one is a new Chris Seaver film, which was was one of my favorite movies of his that I watched, and it's he's selling this through World Home Video, so I'll put the link so you guys can check this out. I believe that the current Blu-ray run of this is sold out, but the DVD edition is still available, and this is Evil Night, and it's pretty much about a group of these friends that are getting together for a party, and the one guy with one house, and the one guy's this really nerdy guy who's all interested in science and things like that, and they end up pulling a prank on him because he likes one of the girls, and they pull this prank on him. It goes terribly wrong. His science experiment spills all over him, and so terrible things happen to him, and he ends up really upset about the whole thing, and plans to take revenge on them. And he was wearing this mask and going around killing them, and these crazy over-the-top deaths in it. This was shot so well. I think it was definitely, they shot this in 4K, so it looks absolutely amazing. It has on here commentaries of the cast and crew, and this was a remake of 1993, I think, shot on video movie. So I don't think I've ever seen the original version of this, but it also has a short film on here, and one of the classic Chris Seaver short films. But this is just a really, really, really fun movie. Like, I can't recommend this enough. The next one, and I've worked with Chris, and this is one of the movies that I've worked with Chris on in the past, and it's Geek Wars, which is now officially out. So definitely check this out. I'm in this playing a crazy character. If anyone remembers like the Don character, I'm playing a similar version of that character in this, and it's about these group of these kids who go to this comic book shop, and they always see this VHS tape on the shelves, and they always plan on getting it, and then they finally save up enough money, and this one girl ends up buying it right from out in front of them before they got a chance to get it. It's about them trying to get it back. Just a really, really fun movie. Like I said, it's finally out on DVD now. The next one from Phase 4 Films is the follow-up to Seed. You know, this is, I think it was originally called Seed 2, but now it's just called Blood Valley, Seed's Revenge. I actually, you know, for an Uwe Ball movie, I actually thought that Seed was actually one of the movies of his that I really liked. But this one is kind of weird, and I feel like, it doesn't really make too much sense. Some of the movie, like a little bit, like, I really love the Minutia, and I believe that's how you say her name, Minutia. She's been in a bunch of movies, but she was so cool and creepy in this. It's just like, but it's basically about these girls who are going. It didn't explain it too well. I think they were leaving from Vegas because they were on like a bachelorette party, but they end up going through the desert, and the movie's kind of cut in a weird order. I feel like it wasn't long enough or something, so they were kind of using footage 2 times, something like that. I don't know. I don't know why they cut it the way they did, was showing things. They could have just showed it. They didn't have to show it all first and then show it again, like show the whole full scene again. But like I said, I don't know if they shot enough. But it's pretty much like, though, they're out there and then they get taken in, you know, captive by the one character, and then Seed's out there, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't make a whole ton of sense. But I really kind of liked it because it didn't, and because it wasn't really that good. That's why I kind of liked it. You know, Ryan Nicholson did some really cool effects in this. Nick Principal played Seed, though. I thought everybody did good in it, though. I mean, Jeff Dylan Graham had a little part in it. Caroline Williams played the one character's mother. Wish she was in it more, though. It's just a very confusing, weird order movie, but it was interesting, though. The next one from Sony is Deliver Us from Evil. And this was actually a pretty creepy movie. I saw this in theaters as well, and it's an Eric Bana film. And this is pretty much about all these murders are going on, you know, in the city, and they're kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. They start investigating them, and they're all sort of seem like these weird religious things that are going on. You know, they like possession stuff, and it's kind of Eric Bana and his partner trying to, you know, they also team up with this priest trying to figure out what's going on and try and track the origin of all this and what is causing all these possessions and these crazy murders across the city. And this was actually like a pretty creepy movie. There were some really pretty creepy aspects to this. To me, like, it was kind of like it says on here, it was kind of like The Exorcist meets Seven. And it really was that kind of vibe. It was kind of like this kind of sort of thriller, trying to figure things out, mixed with like a possession movie. And it actually worked pretty well. I feel like it didn't get a whole ton of attention in theaters, but I really did. Like I said, it was a pretty interesting take on the whole possession thing. It has a commentary on here and then a featurette. The next one from Millennium is The Taking of Deborah Logan, and Adam Robitel directed this one, and it's pretty creepy. The woman who's the lead in this is really known from soap operas, and it's like totally a different, because she's always like real dignified kind of characters, and she's like plays this like woman that goes crazy in this, and she's someone who has you know, she's losing her mind, you know, losing like you know, Alzheimer's disease. She starts like it's pretty much these students making a documentary on her for their school project, showing about the decline. And the character I loved in this the most was the sister. You know, I mean the daughter of the mother. I thought she was in a bunch of different stuff, but she was really pretty cool in this. She was, to me, like my favorite thing in the movie, her character. And the mother was pretty creepy, though, too. But some of it was a little silly, though. But it was pretty much about them find this woman, but she's like having these bouts of like going absolutely crazy. She's outside digging in the mud and all these crazy things. She starts looking all crazy in the end. It was actually pretty creepy, them following her around. I love the cover of this, but weird things going on while they're making this documentary. I think it's worth checking out, though. It's just a very weird, creepy movie. The next one from Anderson Digital is this is a Walmart exclusive, and this is the Garfield Holiday Collection, and this has like the classic Garfield specials. You know, the Garfield Christmas, Garfield Thanksgiving, Garfield's Halloween, and then it has also extra ones on here. Garfield in Paradise, you know, with Wolfman Jack doing the voice, you know, hey, yeah, Wolfman Jack here, how you doing? And that's not the best Wolfman Jack. Sometimes I do it better, though. You know, I always think of him playing the priest in, you know, Motel Hell. And then Garfield in the Town, and then a bonus feature on here. going and visiting with Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield. But, people know Garfield. Like, to me, though, these are like classic ones. I remember always watching these as a kid, for Christmas and things like that. But just a cool set, all together like this. And this is another one that it's really kind of weird seeing this again, because it was from the creator of Alf, and it's Santa's Magic Toy Bag. And I actually remembered watching this. I mean, I probably saw this last time I was like 4 years old. But I remembered this, and it's very strange. There's some peculiar looks to some of the puppets. They kind of look like so. I'm not gonna get into it, but I was thinking some of it was intentional because it's so strange. And they even have outtakes on here. And this is like a little children's show, but the outtakes are like, whoa. Kind of adult. It's kind of like those outtakes, if anybody remembers them before they took them down. The outtakes for Zoobbly Zoo, which were amazing, but really dirty. And like, whoa, like kind of weird. And I guess they told them to take them down because it was ruining the image of Zoobbly Zoo. But this is just a really like weird Christmas special with some pretty cool synth in it. But this, elf who's like kind of messing everything up, and he's kind of move him around from place to place trying to find different tasks, and he's always like doing things wrong, and he gets the job of guarding Santa's magic toy bag, and things go terribly wrong. But it's like I said, it's from the creator of Elf. It's just a fun special. I feel like people remember seeing it as kids. They would probably really like it. Like I said, I haven't seen it in years. The next one from Arc Entertainment, and sorry if this is a longer update, but there's, like I said, there's a lot in this update, is Plastic, and this has Will Poulter, who is in We're the Millers and recently in Maze Runner. And this is about a group of these kids who have this sort of scheme of like stealing credit cards and stealing information from people and bribing people to get money from them, to get their information on their credit card for a day before they cancel it. So they're kind of buying all this stuff and selling it through their school, but the one day they end up doing it to the wrong person and stealing this briefcase. And then this guy, finds them and tracks them down and kind of forces them to do this heist for them. So they end up going to Miami to do it. It's a pretty fun movie, and like I said, it's set in Miami. The one that has the heist. I kind of liked it though. It was like it kind of some pretty cool aspects to it, and I really liked Will Porter. As an actor, he's been in some really cool stuff lately. The next one is Autumn Blood. This is from Arc Entertainment as well, and it's basically about these kids that are living out in kind of like the middle of like the wilderness and with their mother, and the mother ends up dying, and they kind of are out there on their own means and trying to live on out there, and something terrible ends up happening, and there's this with this kind of hunter guy, and it's pretty much about them trying to hide out in the woods while these people are kind of coming after them and trying to find them. I thought it was pretty well done. It's one of those movies, though, it doesn't really have any dialogue, really. Very, very little dialogue. It's more of like kind of like really nice cinematography mixed with like, just like a cool vibe to the whole thing. I thought it really was pretty good acting. Sophie Lowe was really good in this. Just a pretty interesting, weird movie about people like sort of stuck out, trying to survive with people coming after them. The next one is another one which is a really kind of trippy movie, and it's The Scribbler. And this is from Accelerator Media. And this is about a girl who gets sent to this kind of like nut house kind of thing. It's like a hospital. It's shot at the Linda Vista Hospital. And, she gets sent there, and there's all kinds of weird kind of characters in there. And she got like these kind of thing where she like zaps herself with these things, and it's supposed to kind of make her stop being schizophrenic and get rid of her like multiple personalities and things like that. But kind of it causes all kinds of weird things to happen and weird kind of visions in this place. It's kind of a weird movie, like with like a lot of weird kind of characters in this. Michelle Trachtenbaum is in this. Sasha Grey is in this. Ashley Yenny from the Human Centipede films. Eliza Dushku is in this, kind of investigating, talking to the girl because all these people had died where she was at, and it's kind of them trying to figure out what had happened, get to the bottom of the whole thing. But like I said, this is definitely worth checking out. It's just a very weird movie. The next one from Millennium Films is James Franco, Kate Hudson film, Good People, and it's about them living in the UK, and they're trying to put together the house that they, I think it was their aunt or James Franco's grandmother had passed away and left them this house. So it's pretty much that's them there. And, they had moved there because they, got the house, and they also, had some things happen to them, in America, and kind of wanted a fresh start. But when they're there, the guy who lives in the basement of the house ends up dying, and they're cleaning up the house and end up finding all this money, and they end up hiding the money away. And of course, this money belonged to these terrible, like, bad guys. It's kind of them coming after them, making their lives miserable, trying to find the money. I will say though, I felt that it wasn't enough happening in this. I thought it was pretty well, I thought it was well acted and everything. I just felt like it stalled out a little bit and just wasn't as interesting as it could have been. But like I said, it's interesting though about them having people kind of coming after them, but I didn't absolutely love it. The next one from Magnolia is Tasting Menu. It's a film in French film about this restaurant that, it's like a really world famous restaurant, like one of those kind of top rated kind of places that everybody wants to get to, everybody wants to get a reservation, and the woman who owns the place has pretty much made an announcement that she's tired of it and it's going to close down the restaurant. She can't deal with it anymore. And it's pretty much about group of these people all kind of coming from all different walks of life, and people who are divorced getting back together again because they've people who've tried to get reservations to this place, and the last group of people who can come to this restaurant, and they know that if they don't go, the thing is going to close and they're going to have no chance to have done this. So that's pretty much what it is them kind of getting back together, these people like from all different walks of life, to get to this restaurant. The next one is from PBS, and it's Cooks County, and it's like it's kind of a spin-off of America's Test Kitchen. I like the show, especially the guy kind of reminds me of like an older brother of Elton Brown, and he's got this bow tie, and it's pretty much about him like trying recipes and trying, like blind taste tests when he tries like different products and sees which one's the better one. I always like those kind of things. It's about him making dishes, but it's always funny when they're cooking them. He always just sort of stands there and has everybody else doing it. And he kind of just like looks at them and stuff like that. It's funny that he never really cooks it. He's just sort of like there looking at it. The next one from Vertical Entertainment is the Nate Wolff film. He was in, what was the one he was in recently? The Shailene Woodley movie, Fault in the Stars, and a number of other movies recently. And it's pretty much his character is, in high school, and he's has this kind of thing he wants to end up losing, ends up wanting to sleep with Selena Gomez's character, and it's kind of about him trying to sleep with her. It's a very strange, kind of weird movie that kind of plays very weird, because he's kind of got, he's seeing this, vision of his mother kind of giving him advice about it. It's very strange. It's got a very, very, very poor rating online, but I liked it though. For some reason, these movies that are like really poorly rated, I like. And he's sleeping though with his friend's mother in this, and I'm sort of forgetting some of the plot of this, but it's like he's trying to get with Selena Gomez's character, and he's kind of doing anything he can. There's like kind of quirky, weird things going along the way. But I kind of liked it though. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not really a good movie, but it's just sort of silly. And last one's from Vinegar Syndrome, 3 adult-oriented films. And the first one is Hot and Saucy Pizza Girls, which is John Holmes in this, running this pizza place where he pretty much has it's like basically a front for him having the girls over there sleeping with him, and kind of like they call it the pepperoni special, and this means one thing. And John Holmes, I don't think I had ever seen him in a movie. He was the character that Mark Wahlberg played in Boogie Nights. And he actually was not a bad actor, pulling this off. He was kind of funny and I don't know, he really wasn't bad. But like I said, Vinegar Syndrome does an amazing job cleaning these up. And like some of these ones are really forgotten about ones. The other one's a double feature with Red Heat Vampire, Hot Vampire, and Peeping Tom. And Red Heat was all shot in Vegas in the 70s, and it's pretty cool seeing. Of course, there's like weird stolen shots and like showing like the Stardust and all the hotels, what they look like. And actually, they showed the front of Circus Circus, seeing what Circus Circus looked like. And I mean, most people were thinking about like noticing other things, but I was looking at the Vegas stuff going, wow, it looks pretty cool back then. It really so damn different. And like, I don't know, I like that. And the other one is like has tons of really well-known adult stars in the 70s in this. Dracula Sucks, and this is pretty much about this like the Dracula story about people going to the this asylum kind of place, and Dracula comes there, and they're all getting killed off, and there's like adult stuff going on. Very weird one, but it also has a return to shooting locations with them, the producers going back and trying to find the place, and it has commentaries on here. Like I said, Vin it does an absolutely amazing job of these movies and putting features on these things and cleaning them up. I can't wait for their upcoming Christmas Evil Blu-ray. So I, to see that one, how well they clean that one up, so I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Anyway, though, guys, like I said, sorry this was such a long update, but thanks again for watching, for subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.